Hello, comrades. Commissar Bro here today with my final review on Dawn of War 3 as it stands today. So there's a lot of stuff we got to talk about, and for the most part, this is entirely unscripted. As far normally, I do write a written review for my actual big blown reviews, but in this particular case, I decided not to go that route, and instead felt like I should just go for a face to face approach. And I did wait a little bit of time before I did do a full-blown review of the game, because I wanted to see what features would come out through patching. I wanted to see how quickly Relic was going to be patching, and I also wanted to see like how in-depth some of the workshop stuff was going to end up being, because I do feel like workshop content at this point, although not created by the publisher and the developer, is a pretty good representation if the game is worth buying, because if the community is active in the workshop side portion of the game, or the modding community is active, then I think that alone adds reason to purchase the game. So anyway, let's just come right out the gate, and I'm going to try to formulate what my full opinion is on the game. It's weird because as a huge Warhammer fan, I play these games like crazy. I literally own just about every single Warhammer game of the past. Well, no, I do own all of them of the past 20 years. Minus, I don't have Shadow of the Horned Rat, and that includes Warhammer Fan. So basically, I'm including Fantasy Battle and 40K. But I own all of the other games. And the universe, you can definitely see how it's been expanding, especially into the video game realm, as of especially the past 2 years. The past 2 or 3 years, it has expanded exponentially. We've seen the release of Man of War Corsair, which I need to do a review on as well. We've seen the release of Space Hulk, Deathwing, Vermintide, Total War Warhammer. Total War Warhammer 2 is coming out very soon. I think by the end of this year, it's going to be coming out. And overall, I mean, there are a ton of Warhammer games out right now, and there's really never been a better time to be a Warhammer fan. The universe is actually starting to move along a little bit in the story, so there's new factions coming out. They just released an army list for the Adeptus Custodes, so that's pretty cool. But basically, this isn't about just the Warhammer universe. This is about Dawn of War 3, and is it a good game or not? Well, I will say that my overall experience with it has been mostly positive. Like, I can't help but kind of put it in the idea of like how Steam reviews. I don't think it's the best game to ever come out, but I think it does a lot of stuff great, and it has a lot of cool features. I love the idea of the elites. For example, I like that you can pick heroes that go into the fight. You can sit there and level them up and battle them through, and they're kind of like persistent in a way. They just get levels, which unlocks more doctrines. I like the doctrines. I like the idea of doctrines to kind of make you different from someone else who plays the same thing. So like if I'm playing against a Space Marine faction, I can be more like the Imperial Fist if I have a bunch of upgraded listening posts and stuff like that. Because, you know, the Imperial Fist are supposed to be like siege masters and fortification experts. So it would stand to reason that they would have better listening posts than everybody else. Now, I know that's kind of a stretch, but still, that's how I look at it, is you can really kind of customize your faction depending on the doctrines you've unlocked, and you get skulls that allow you to buy more doctrines. As you can see, I'm a fucking noob, and I literally just play with the same 3 doctrines because that's how I roll. The 3 factions currently available in the game all seem pretty different. That's something else that's worth mentioning. The orcs. I can't help but feel like the orcs are the most underpowered of all 3. Like, even when it comes to their super units, when it comes to their regular units, just all around, they don't seem as powerful as the Space Marines, and they don't seem as powerful as the Eldar. If you don't believe me, a great way to test it out is to go into an AI match, put the AI on hard, go play against orcs. I bet you'll win easily. Go play against Space Marines. I bet you will not win as easily. And play against the Eldar. I bet you're going to have a little bit of a challenge. But again, I do not believe overall that the AI is that challenging. I believe they can be challenging. But again, I can't help but feel like the orcs are particularly gimped. I don't really see many people play orcs, and if they do play orcs, they tend to lose. when I play Space Marines. Again, I really mainly play Space Marines and Orcs. I've played a little bit of the Eldar, but I'm not a huge fan of the Eldar. I never really was. Like, I like the way their units look and stuff like that. They look absolutely wonderful in this game, and their lore is nice and good and all. I just never was a big Eldar fan. I'm not a whole Space Elves kind of dude. But, yeah, anyway. So, they have plenty of units as well. Each faction has 9 elite units that you can play, you can unlock by getting skulls. Again, you do get skulls by playing games and leveling up. And leveling up your heroes and so on and so forth. Each faction has a wide assortment of these elites that do a variety of different functions. And each one has different, what's the word I'm looking for? Has different traits. So like, or classes really. So like Beauty de Morkanut is a tank and a support. And then Gorguts is a tank and he's crowd control. And then Storm Boys are assassin and crowd control. Now, if you're familiar with any MMORPGs or any MOBAs or any... Honestly, if you've played any games on the PC for the past couple of years, you're probably going to know what each one of these classes are. Assassin is your DPS. Crowd control is kind of more of like... has stuns and can basically take on multiple opponents. Tank can take a lot of damage. It can take a lot of punishment. And then a support is generally going to be like a healer, or it provides some sort of specialist service backing up, or passive bonuses that back up the rest of the troops or something like that. So yeah, if you've played any of these games in the past couple of forever, you're going to know what these are. Is this game a good multiplayer game? Is it a good strategy game? Well, these are entirely up to your opinion. The game mechanics themselves are solid. I mean, the game plays just fine. There's no problems at all that I have in terms of how the game itself plays. I know a lot of people are particularly unimpressed by how the game kind of operates. People feel the game operates like a MOBA because it has the power generators. And then, it has the shield generators, then it has the turrets, and then it has the, actually, I'm going to see if I don't have a game we can just load up and watch or something here, like the replay system. Let's see. Well, is there anything worth looking at? Yeah, we might be able to get into a match, but I don't really want to get into a match. Needless to say, is it a good RTS? In my opinion, I think it is. I think it does stuff that a lot of RTSs have never done before, which is really cool. I like the idea that, you can kind of try out these new strategies, like with doctrines and with your elites. So it kind of, it takes what Company of Heroes 2 was trying to do and just makes it a little bit better. Do I think the gameplay is better than Company of Heroes 2? I don't really know. I mean, it's not really better. I don't know, I guess it's the same. But the gameplay itself is not the same. And that's kind of what makes this game a little bit hard to talk about. That's why I've taken so much time on actually doing a review for it, because I don't know entirely what my opinion is. It's not a bad game. It's just okay. It's good in a lot of places, but in a lot of places as well, it's just mediocre. It's nothing, it's different, but it's not the best kind of different. I mean, a lot of the features that were taken out are what made, the Company of Heroes games, or made the Dawn of War 2, Dawn of War 2, or even Dawn of War 1. Even though the cover was simplified in Dawn of War 1, it was more interesting than the cover that's currently available. However, at the same time, there are situations where the cover that's currently available in the game is incredibly useful. So that's kind of where I'm confused on my opinion of the game overall. I don't really know truly how I feel about it, because I guess it's just okay. There's nothing inherently bad about it that I don't like. There is stuff that could be better. I feel like right now, at this current stage of the game, upon release, I don't think there's really a whole lot for me to say about the game that I guess hasn't already been said by someone else. I feel like a lot of people have been hammering this game for mechanics they view to be MOBA-like or simplifying it, dumbing down mechanics. And the only real thing I see that could agree with that statement is the fact that there's no strong cover system like in Dawn of War 2 or Company of Heroes, which, again, is not necessarily a feature that needs to be in a game, but it is such a great feature. It's kind of makes you wonder why it's not in the game to begin with. But there's a lot of stuff that this game does that's I really enjoy. For example, again, the elites. I love the elites. A lot of people are kind of iffy on them, but I love the elites. I think they're so cool, and if anything, I wish they were just a little bit tougher. At the same time, I wish the overall combat was a little bit slower. I wish the units in the game did not die in such large droves. I find it really hard to believe that one singular battle over one area, you're going to see a whole chapter of Space Marines get absolutely wiped the fuck out. That makes no sense to me. Again, I am a lore guy, so seeing that is kind of questionable. The same thing could be said for Dawn of War 1 especially, but I mean, this game seems to have death occurring on a much larger scale than even Dawn of War 1 was current. I mean, whole squads of Space Marines get absolutely wiped out in a matter of seconds by some of these abilities. I can't help but feel like the classes should be, or the races in this case, the various factions, should be more defined. Like, I think that the orcs, there should be more orcs. They're already absolutely massive by the end game, but I believe that they should be they should basically be a little bit less tough or keep them at the same toughness level, and they should make like the Space Marines tougher, more expensive than they already are. I mean, they're already expensive, but again, this is just tiny little balancing things that I think might fit towards the fluff a bit more. But so basically you'll end up seeing Space Marine armies as much smaller, much more elite armies. Rather than these massive swaths of Space Marines, like 100 Space Marines charging in. Again, it seems really weird that a whole 10th of the chapter is going to be deployed on one tiny little mile by mile area, like 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer type area, and then just duking it out with these other guys. I know it's a video game, but I can't help but, be a little nitpicky in there. Needless to say, there's a lot of stuff here that I think makes for a really good game. I believe as an RTS, it's a pretty solid RTS, and I think that a lot of people should just give it a chance before they really solidify their opinion based on what other people are telling you. This game is not a bad game at all. If people are saying it's terrible, they're just kind of wrong. Like, I know opinions are not supposed to be wrong, but in that particular instance, that person is probably walking into it with an incredibly biased mind, and they shouldn't, because this game deserves at least an attempt, because it does a lot of things right. It does a lot of things in a great fashion, and overall is a pretty fun game. But what's really the question is if you like this style of strategy that is represented here. Is this the type of strategy that you want to play? That's the real question here. And I guess that's kind of the thing I've been asking myself the whole time I've been playing it. It's not so much that I don't absolutely adore some of the stuff they've done in the game. It's more of, is this the type of strategy game that I'm into? Is this where I want my strategy games to go? And that's kind of where I'm unsure. And again, that's why it's taken me so long to actually put out actual review. And that's why I'm really not even doing an actual review, because I'm just unsure. I'm entirely unsure. As this game stands, I really enjoy this game. Do I think it replaces Dawn of War 1 or Dawn of War 2? No, I do not. At the same time, though, I paid attention to what Relic was saying, which was that they're not trying to make Dawn of War 1 again. They're not trying to make Dawn of War 2 again. They're trying to make Dawn of War 3. So they wanted to make something that was different, which they definitely succeeded at. This game is definitely different than the other 2 iterations in the series. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it shows progression and it shows growth. If anything, I'm actually more interested to see what will come. And that kind of brings me to my feelings, my true feelings on where the game stands now. I think this game is only going to get better with more content. I believe right now the reason I'm having trouble really enjoying the experience to the fullest extent is because I feel like the three factions that are currently in the game, there's just not enough variety between them. I feel like there's enough there to warrant an actual definition of variety, but I guess I don't really like to play the Eldar. I just like to play the Space Marines the most. I like to play the Orcs for fun, but I enjoy playing as the Space Marines. So to me, it almost seems like what's really going to make this game better is just to see more factions, more elite units. One of my biggest surprises was the fact that the Space Marines got Imperial Knights, but they didn't get any Land Raiders. That was kind of weird, just because Land Raiders have always been the super unit of the Space Marine faction. So the fact that it was not included at all struck me as very strange. In the open beta, as a matter of fact, I assumed that one of the elite units was going to end up being a Land Raider. But once the game came out, it didn't. So what I'm hoping is that the Land Raider ends up becoming one of the first units that we see released in the game. Because, again, I would very much hope to actually have units like that in the game. I want to see, like, the Imperial Guard added to the game. I believe this method of delivery in terms of how this game works, how the combat works and everything, really, really lends itself to the Imperial Guard. I know that in the story mode, you can play like with House Varlic units, essentially. Well, not play with, but play alongside is more appropriate. You're playing alongside House Varlic guys, which are basically just Imperial Guard dudes who can't take a hit, can't do much, which is fitting. But truly, the Imperial Guard, if you're going to depict them very accurately, is they're going to have a crap ton of units who cannot even hold a candle to one Space Marine. I mean, if you're going to make it at least interesting, because like that's something that I didn't like about Dawn of War 2, is I feel like Dawn of War 2, of all the games, did the worst job at really depicting, I guess, kind of the strengths of the various factions. And I'm not just saying the Space Marines, but more of like everyone, including the Orcs and the Tyranids and so on. I feel like it didn't really do justice to how strong these guys could be. The campaign did. The campaign did an absolutely wonderful job at doing it, but the multiplayer itself, for balancing purposes, did not. So that was kind of a disappointment in my eyes. I believe that this game does not do that great of a job at depicting that either, but I feel like it kind of does it a little bit better than Dawn of War 2 does. But then again, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I ultimately, like, I want Imperial Guards to like be absolute cannon fodder backed up by some serious tanks and some serious heavy weaponry, which is what's going to make or break their army. And or, you know, at least having elite units like pop up. So basically, you know, if you have not necessarily like Death Cult assassins, but like Ogryns. Now, an Ogryn, I feel like, could go toe-to-toe with a Space Marine. Or at least two Ogryns could go toe-to-toe with a Space Marine. That makes sense to me. Two Imperial Guard soldiers will not go toe-to-toe with a Space Marine. Like, I mean, there's Inquisitors in the Warhammer universe that are stronger fighters than some of these, like, that can take on whole groups of Imperial Guardsmen. So I see no reason why one Space Marine can't take on at least several Imperial Guardsmen. So basically, that's kind of what I want to see with the game. I also want to see the Necrons. I know they kind of hint at the Necrons being the next faction to come in to the game with the end sequence there. So spoiler alert, probably should have said that before I started talking. That's something I'm really excited for. I love the Necrons. I want to see them added to the game, and I feel like they're going to add a whole new dimension with being able to res units. And I hope they're kind of like their super units are as powerful as I'm imagining them going to be. And I cannot wait to call back down a Nightbringer. I absolutely cannot wait. So again, those are the things I'm really excited for the next couple of expansions, or however they're going to do the content, however they're going to deliver it. If they're going to deliver it in an expansion type format, or if they're just going to deliver it via DLC like race packs like Total War Warhammer. So there's a couple of other things I want to talk about, and then I'll shut up. So and I know I've been rambling a lot, so I apologize for that because, again, this is not a scripted review. This is me just talking about my opinion because I just can't write a review for this game for some reason. Anyway, maybe one day when there's more content, like more factions and stuff like that, and I feel like it's more complete, I guess. But anyway, so the story mode. How do I feel about the story mode? Well, I played about 5 missions in the story mode. And I don't know. I'm not a overly big fan. Some of the missions got a little bit better, but I read somewhere, I think that really said it best. It was like a comment on PC Gamer or something where somebody responded and basically gave their opinion, like what they thought, why they didn't like the campaign. And I believe it's because this game is entirely geared towards multiplayer. The pacing is all set for multiplayer. So the units are translated over to the single player, which, don't get me wrong, still got a really heavy focus, but balancing wise, it did not. So there's a lot of moments in the single player portion of the campaign where it's very boring. It's just boring. Like, it's so grindy. There's like, I've been playing WoW again lately, and I find WoW less grindy than some of the missions that you have to grind through just to get through the story. Like, because me, I just want to know the story. I don't care about the missions. I just want to know the story and what's going on because, again, I'm a lore nut. So, like, for me, that's the true important content that is being delivered via the game. And if I'm not getting that, then I'm just disappointed. So the story mode itself is really grindy. I also am incredibly disappointed that they took the name Get Stompa. Like, I'm so sad because now every time someone hears Get Stompa, they're going to be like, oh, Commissar Bro copied Relic. And it's like, no, that was my name first. I picked Get Stompa. That was my orc name. But so now there's a boss Get Stompa in the Warhammer universe. So I'm depressed now because, yeah, like I said, just it's gonna be something else. It's gonna be something else, and yeah, I'm not gonna be able to use that anymore. So that sucks. But anyway, so the story mode is just kind of it's meh. It's meh at best. It's really grindy. There's moments that are just like, is this ever going to end? But then there's other really cool moments where the combat really comes together and smash, and just two armies absolutely devastating each other in wonderful fashion. So there's moments where it can be pretty much like one of the most exciting games you've played, and then there's other moments where it's just not. It's just not. So, like, I love that. It was absolutely devastating. So I guess that kind of brings me to a close. I mean, I'm not going to go on all day because I could literally sit here and talk all day about this or that I really like the actual graphics. I think the graphics look great. I know a lot of people were complaining and saying it looked too cartoony, but I absolutely love the way everything is depicted in this game. It's so like, look at these Devastators, just boo, 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 boo. So dramatic in how they shoot. It's wonderful. And like when they actually pin down an area, like, I mean, that shit is pinned down. You can, there's no way in hell these people are going to be able to walk through that swath of fire without getting mowed the F down. Like, even Space Marines couldn't handle that level of fire. So I guess that kind of like, that just gives my opinion on this game and like what I think. There's a lot of really cool stuff here. There's a lot of great content. The game itself, I believe, is an incredibly solid title. Oh, no, 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 no. Run, boys. Run. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, well, that didn't turn out very well at all for me, as I lose half my army in a matter of seconds. That sucks. Yeah, that sucks. But anyway, I guess, again, that kind of brings up my opinion on how I feel about the game. It's a solid game. It's really good. I just can't help but feel like I want more content before I can really say if it's good or not. Because this seems like a great start. This seems like a great foundation for a series of games that are going to be an absolute blast to play in the near future. When you've got the Necrons, you've got the Tau, the Dark Eldar, you've got the Tyranids added in there, and then really that's when this game is going to shine. And I guess maybe Relic should have waited. Maybe Sega and Relic should have just waited before they put this game out, because it's done. It's clearly done, but there just could have been more in it, I guess. And there's not like there's a lack of content here. There's plenty of content, but I just cannot help but feel like I want more. I literally want more, and I guess that's what my overall feeling of the game is. I also want more Brian and Paul Dobson. Like, that is point blank. I want more Brian and Paul Dobson. It sounds like they actually managed to get Paul in there with the Heavy Devastator. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm going to look that up. But I'm pretty sure that's one of the Dobson brothers voicing the Heavy Devastator squad there. And it sounds wonderful. This is my favorite unit in the game by far, purely just because of the voice acting on it. Not to mention how awesome the unit is, just like mowing shit down. It's absolutely wonderful. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys go now, because otherwise I'm just going to ramble on for all eternity and never really come to a comfortable ending zone, because I could talk about this game for a while. So I hope this at least has been helpful or informative. For those of you who have not already purchased a copy of the game, I would recommend, if you're not, I don't even want to say like Warhammer fan, because I feel like this game would appeal to those who are not so much Warhammer fans. So really, that's kind of more of a you thing. Like, what type of games do you enjoy? And if you want to try, like, if you enjoy games like Heroes of the Storm, League of Legends, or kind of like newer RTS type games, I believe 100% that this game is worth giving a try. And I believe that if you're tired of the RTS genre and you feel like it's been stale, then this will be a refreshing look for you, to say the least, because it tries to do things different. It tries to kind of get out of the regular tropes that you see within strategy games, while at the same time still being incredibly familiar. So, and the best comparison I have for it is Battle for Middle-earth 2. Like, mix Battle for Middle-earth 2 with expanded like features, with just kind of like the direction that Battle for Middle-earth 2 was already going. If there would have been a BFME 3, that's pretty much what this game is. If there was a BFME 3, because they do so much in common, that it's ridiculous. And the fact that no one ever compares the two games, it blows my mind. It literally blows my mind that no one ever compares Battle for Middle-earth to this game, because they are so similar. It's not even funny. Between the heroes and the huge squad size, like basically the huge army sizes duking it out, the map control essentially that you need in order to maintain resource production. Although you were able to build your resources, you had to space your resources out in BFME 2. Seriously, how has no one compared the two games? But anyway, this has been Commissar Bro. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this video has at least been informative, because it's definitely not been entertaining, and at best it's been grating. So I hope I at least helped you on your decision on whether you should get Dawn of War 3 or not. If you liked Battle for Middle-earth 2, you'll love this game. But anyway, this has been CB, and I'll see you next time.